I'm going to broadcast.
All right, welcome everybody. All right, welcome everybody to the second community committee meeting. Thank y'all all for being here today. It was nice seeing everyone out who was able to come out to the tour this week. For those who didn't, I'm sad you couldn't join us, but I understand that there's a time today that there's a lot of uncertainty out. So I want to bring this meeting into session, and then I'm gonna pass it off to Nick, I believe. You're on mute. Nick, you're on mute.
Thanks, Trey. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. I was just saying we are going to be pinballing around today. We have a lot to get to, a lot of folks that are going to talk and share. So I'm going to share screen and kick us off briefly with a high-level agenda, and we'll go. So are we good? Are you seeing start of the presentation? Wonderful. All right. Today, Trey's called us to order. I'm going to ask right now if folks have any comments about the meeting minutes from last meeting. Once we bring on our chair and vice chair, we'll have the formal adoption of minutes from the previous meeting. But if there's anything of note from the previous edition of meetings that were uploaded onto Board Docs and also on today's meeting, please share that in the chat, and we'll get into a formal practice starting next meeting of adopting our meeting minutes. A couple things today. We're going to introduce some additional staff and give a communications overview for the city and the Dix Park Conservancy. Excuse me. We're going to introduce a couple additional committee members, and we're going to briefly review our second onboarding package that was shared in preparation for this meeting. We have a couple follow-up action items, a second survey, and some dates to save. And then we're going to spend the majority of the meeting kicking off our first major park project, the Plaza in Play. So we're very excited about that. So with that, I'm going to directly pass it straight to Lauren and let Lauren introduce herself to the committee.
Hey everybody, I'm Lauren Weldesofer. I do marketing and communications for Dorothea Dix Park with the city of Raleigh. So in the Parks Department, and work with the Dix Park team and help amplify all of the awesome things going on at the park from a visitor perspective, but also on the planning side of things. So I wanted to kind of let you know what our Dix Park channels are. So this is the way that we digitally communicate with folks. You can find us on the web, dixpark.org. It's where we'll have project pages, we'll have visit pages, we list all our programs and events. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and on YouTube at Dix Park. And you can also subscribe to our newsletter. So we send out a monthly newsletter, and then other planning updates, programs, and events news that way as well. If you just go to dixpark.org, if you're not already subscribed, in the footer we have a sign up there for our list. I wanted to kind of give a little brief overview of what our goals are as for communications for the park. So the city owns, operates, programs the park, and so we want to work to inform and engage and collaborate with the public through communications that foster a belief in the value and the benefit of the Dix Park project, equitable participation in park planning, and exceptional park experiences for all. When we first started the Dix Park project as a partnership between the Conservancy and the city, we built a lot of communications around one channel. So everything kind of came from the voice of the park. As we moved out of the master planning phase, we realized that we needed to be able to share different kinds of messages, some from the city side and some from the nonprofit side. So from Dix Park is going to be a lot more informational from the city side. So park planning, public engagement, visiting, programs and events, as I kind of said. And then on the Conservancy side, similar things, but also more targeted towards advocacy, fundraising, and as you can see there, the community work that it's going to take to build America's next great park. So it's a little more of the opinion side of things and the actionable side of things for folks. And yes, organizations, we're going to keep delivering messages that really uplift the core values of our park and our organizations, and also really strengthens the public-private partnership between the two of us and shows why both entities are really important in the success of Dix Park.
Awesome. Thank you, Lauren. And segueing to Elena, with the Conservancy. Elena, were you able to join us?
I'm here. I am broadcasting live from my guest room that has not seen guests for a long time and won't for a long time. But alas, welcome. I'm really excited to be a part of the community committee. I get to work with Trey every day. I know that you all have met him in person, and I know some of you and others I look forward to meeting. I'm Elena Ewan. I'm Director of Communications and Community Engagement at the Conservancy. I've been here for about a year. Our whole job really is to make the park come to life for our community. We want to make the park a place that our community loves and cherishes so much that they want to do what it takes to support our work to manifest this. So the way we do that is, I'm not going to read this slide to you because you all can read, but our whole focus is really on building awareness and growing affinity. So what we want to be able to do is inspire people to take action to support the park. And that might take the form of donating to the Conservancy, advocating to City Council and the Mayor, as well as your peers, your neighbors and friends, to advocate to getting a bond on the ballot for next year, voting for a bond once it's on the ballot. We want you to come enjoy the park, of course, to volunteer, follow us on social channels, which you see here, and I dropped it in the chat as well. As Lauren said, the Conservancy and the city operate different channels, and that way we each can stay in our own discrete lanes. I know from a public perspective that the umbrella brand is Dix Park. That's the project that we're all here to push forward and make come to life. So the way we do that is through separating our channels so we can be clear on who does what, because as a city, they can't necessarily do fundraising and advocacy the way the Conservancy can. So that's the role that we play. So Trey and I together work in community engagement. So you'll be hearing from both of us to help support action. And so this is where we're really going to rely on you moving forward, is to be able to expand our net using your networks. So we do have a team of digital insiders we work with in a similar fashion. So what we do with them is we arm them with some information that they then push out to their communities. And you'll be hopefully hearing a lot more from Trey about that and how we can do that in safe yet effective ways as we continue in this world of COVID. So thank you for your time tonight. And I'm really excited that you all are part of this committee. This is a great group to be a part of. Thank you, Nick.
Thanks, Elena. We didn't prep for this, but I think it's a good time to ask, how should the committee members engage with our social media channels? Is there a good way? Are we looking to them to amplify through their own channels and accounts? Is there anything we want to share from both of y'all's perspectives?
Well, they should definitely follow the channels for the city and for the Conservancy. And then I think anything to help share links. The way we get pushed up in the algorithm is when people share or like our content. Liking is really the least of what gets us anywhere. Sharing and sharing with content. So sharing with a caption or a blurb helps push us in further into the algorithm. That algorithm changes every day, and apparently that movie, what is it, something on Netflix about the social experiment or the social network, will perhaps ruin us for life. So I'm not going to watch that anytime soon, since social media is such a big part of my job. But definitely to follow and to share is really important. Lauren, I don't know if you would add anything to that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really perfect. Making sure you're getting the newsletters from both organizations so that you can kind of see and hear everything that's going on, both from the nonprofit side and also from planning and programming side. Because that way also, even if you're, other than sharing things through your social media, being able to just talk to your friends and family, neighbors, coworkers about what's going on, or if someone asks a question, you've got a lot more kind of info right at hand of kind of the in and out of what's going on at the park, and staying up to date. Also, reach out to us anytime if you ever have questions, or say you're getting questions from folks. Alina and I are always here to answer any questions specifically, or if you see something on social and you don't understand it, or you have some more questions about it so that you can be more informed, please let us know. We're always open to answering questions and helping make sure that things are clear for folks, so that everybody knows what's going on.
Wonderful. Well, thank you both. We will continue to introduce more of our awesome staff teams in future meetings, but want to make sure we're given the opportunity for folks to share what they're doing and their roles and responsibilities in the project. So with that, we're going to move on and introduce a couple additional committee members. I'm actually going to stop sharing so we can see folks' faces. But if you wouldn't mind sharing your name, whether you're new or returning to the committee, and any excitement that you're bringing to this project, or excitement about being involved, it would be great to hear. And just a reminder, we do have a lot going on, so keep it short and sweet if you don't mind. So with that, I'm going to call on someone. Charles, I believe, offered to go first. Charles, would you mind kicking us off?
Sure. Thanks, Nick. Hey, everybody. My name is Charles Faniff. I'm returning from the Master Plan Advisory Committee, so excited to be back. And my career's been in the arts. I just started a new job right before COVID as the president of the United Arts Council of Raleigh and Wake County. If you don't know, we're the local arts agency for the county, and so we do things like we're a grant-making organization for individual artists, for arts organizations. We run the Artists in Schools program, public art programs, different things like that. And actually, I'll be brief, but today we got some really big news. The County Commission agreed on a $1 million nonprofit arts relief fund for arts and culture organizations. So I don't think we have any county commissioners here, but if you know a county commissioner, give them a big virtual hug and/or high five, because it's a really challenging time for the arts right now. You know, arts organizations were the first to close and will be like the last to reopen. So, so that's good news for the arts. And I'm just excited about, I'm excited about this project. For one thing, I'm a biker, so I've just personally used this space a lot. But then, I'm thrilled by how much of the master plan talks about art. And, for this to be a destination park, I think art is hugely important to that, and also to telling the history and to equity goals that are related to the development of the park. So just really excited to be here. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Charles. That's awesome news, and congrats on that. I'm going to pass it to Larry. Larry, are you with us? Can you share?
Yes. Hey, good evening. Larry Zucchino. I was on the previous committee and really enjoyed that, and I think we contributed quite a bit. So the folks that are new to this committee, it does make a difference in terms of our participation. And, I enjoyed meeting and working with everybody on the committee. That was one of the true joys of the participation. I'm a landscape architect and urban designer by training and by practice. So obviously I'm interested in park design, but I'm really quite interested in how Dix will positively impact the surrounding urban landscape and cityscape around the edges of the park. So that'll be a special interest for me, and look forward to working with all of you.
Thank you, Larry. Likewise. Also, I'd like to encourage everyone to, if you can figure out the video settings to change to speaker view, it's a good way to not have a bunch of boxes and a small person talking, but a little larger screen to see folks. So thanks, Larry. With that, Heather, I saw you on your video. Would you mind saying hey?
Hi, everyone. My name's Heather. I grew up in Cary, and I've lived in this area for most of my life. I currently work for the company that manufactures Invisalign as a marketing manager, and I also teach digital marketing for UNC Chapel Hill. But my passion is in mental health, and I've worked for mental health startups as well as served on the board of mental health nonprofits in North Carolina. So that's my passion in life, and like my passion project is to be involved in those sorts of things. And also just living near the park. I live in Apex near Lake Wheeler Road. So I love going to Dix Park. I love the programs that happen all the time. So it's an amazing opportunity to get a chance to have a voice in those programs and activities, and hopefully bring some of my marketing expertise for fundraising events and things like that. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Heather. Happy to have you. Heather's a new member with us this time around. So great. That's 3. Sonia, I saw you on video. Would you mind saying hey?
Hi, I'm Sonia Barnes, and you're gonna have to excuse my speech. I just had a couple of fillings, so I haven't gotten my mouth is still numb, so please, if I talk a little slurred, forgive me. But I'm really happy to be on the committee. I serve as a district liaison for Congressman David Price, and I also serve on the Wake Med Hospital Board. I'm a community activist, and I work tirelessly to make a positive difference in our communities. And I'm also the political action chair for the Raleigh Wake Citizens Association. And I'm really excited. I want to do everything that I can to ensure that Dix Park will be an exciting place for all residents to enjoy. That's my goal.
Thanks, Sonia, and apologies. I wouldn't have gone to you if I knew.
That's okay.
You
That's
sound
okay.
great. I hope you heal well. And last, Carol, I think I saw you on video. Would you mind saying hi, Carol?
Like Carol Rogers, me? Okay.
Yes,
There are
sorry,
usually
yes.
more than one Carol. I'm Carol Rogers. I am new to the committee. I am an architect, and also I have a physical disability and use a wheelchair for mobility. So my interest is primarily making sure that things stay not just ADA compliant, but actually usable for people with disabilities. There's a big difference. I also am particularly interested in historic preservation, and I see Myrick on my screen. So I have known Myrick for a very long time, since I first moved here. And you know, I'm also interested in the more regional impact that the park can have. I actually live out in Wake County and not in the city limits. So hopefully we can stretch beyond our boundaries.
Thanks, Carol. Happy to have you as well. With that, we're gonna move into a brief information session for the next 10 minutes or so. So I'm going to share my screen again and talk through this second packet of information that was shared with the committee that we're calling our onboarding package B. This is the second package. The first had information about the park and the committee, about the park and the conservancy, and this package has information about the committee. And the primary document in this package was our governing guidelines, which has 2 parts. The first we called the governing guidelines, and the second are the operational guidelines. The governing guidelines were taken from the new memorandum of agreement, between the city and the Dix Park Conservancy. This is the agreement that establishes our formal relationship. And it also establishes this community committee. And I've pulled out in this presentation some important pieces that I want to highlight in the next 10 minutes or so, but I'd also encourage you to spend some time reading through this document. It'll give you a good idea of the purpose and the reason behind this committee and how it's intended to function, and the details that will become important as we continue to work together. We're familiar with the purpose of this committee in general. It's stewarding the master plan for the park into this next phase of work and to implementation in phase 1. And for this committee specifically is to be the voice of the community in our process, supporting both the city and the conservancy, because this is a joint committee between the city and the Conservancy, which is unique. We're familiar with our membership. We've been established at 44 members that are representative of the community and its diversity. We haven't talked about terms, so I'd like to introduce that now. The way that terms are going to work for this committee is that the committee will be split into thirds, and 1/3 of the committee will serve 1 year, 1/3 will serve 2, and 1/3 will serve 3-year terms. And we will allow individuals to provide their preferences in terms of their availability, and then we'll work to finalize those selections with you. This will be part of a second member survey that we'll share after this meeting towards the end of this week. But this is something that we need to work to finalize over the next several weeks. We've talked about our meeting frequency. We'll have at minimum quarterly meetings. This technically would be categorized as a special meeting, a special September meeting for the Plaza and Play kickoff project. The primary manner of acting for this committee will be a majority vote. For those that are rollover members from our advisory committee, this is different. The master planning process was a consensus process because the master plan was a consensus document. And as we move into implementation and project-based work, well, we will function primarily through a majority vote. There may be instances where a consensus vote is preferred, and we allow some flexibility for that. But for the most part, it will be a majority vote. And that'll be one of the fun things to figure out over Zoom is how to do that efficiently and collect those in an orderly way. I also want to introduce the idea for subcommittees or task forces. This is one of the questions we heard on the tour for those that were able to join. Are there going to be breakout groups on special topics? And the answer is yes. We're still working to develop the topics for these groups, and we're hoping to kick those off in the new year. So probably in our January meeting, we'll start launching these, and these will be groups made up of several individuals in the committee. We're focused on specific topics with finite goals, and we'll have additional staff members that will be brought in from both the city and the Conservancy that will help support those subcommittees or task force, whichever we end up calling them. Finally, leadership for the committee is something we also haven't discussed or solidified. The memorandum of agreement said that at minimum, this committee will have a chair and a vice chair. The chair will have the honor of serving on both the community committee, but also the leadership committee. And this is also new. This is something we heard from our master plan advisory committee members that they would prefer a more direct representative on the leadership committee. So that's something that we're excited to start. So whenever the chair is in seat, they'll serve on both, and they'll directly report to the leadership committee about actions and discussions from this committee. Our leaders will serve 2-year terms. In our application process, we're actually going to take offline. We're going to run it over the end of September through October with the goal of having our leadership in seat for our November meeting, which will be our next meeting. We will not have an October meeting. We have plenty of other things going on, so we won't have a formal meeting in October. So that was the governing guidelines. That's the first part of this onboarding package. The second part are operational guidelines, and these lay out some additional information, specifically responsibilities of the committee members and the roles that you'll serve in the process. It talks about the authority of the committee and directly reporting to the leadership committee. And this committee is an advisory committee that will give recommendations across a number of items related to the parks development. It establishes some ground rules. Most of these were written with in-person meetings in mind, but I think you'll find that they apply for our virtual meetings as well. Building a community of respect and openness so that folks feel comfortable sharing and contributing to the larger discussions that we will have. So please take some time to review our ground rules as we'll continue to reference these moving forward. And then as we've discussed, meeting protocols, there are 2 places that we'll share information. Board Docs is the official City of Raleigh website where our meeting agendas, meeting presentations, and meeting notes will be loaded. And then our SharePoint file will have the additional committee-specific documents. And I know some folks have had some issues there. It's a really finicky platform. So if you're having issues with recent links, the very first link that I sent out seems to work most consistently, and we're going to try to figure out the best way to continue sharing information, because that's important that we can find a place that works for everyone. So I'm going to leave us with some action items and some dates of upcoming committee-related events. We're going to have our second member survey out later this week. This will have information about selecting terms for our members, and also an opportunity for y'all to apply for the chair and vice chair positions, and the information about the selection and voting process there. Upcoming events: a week from today, we have our second REI training. This is called Results Anti-Oppression Workshop on September 28th. We really encourage all of our members to attend if you're able to, and I believe there will be a recording of this meeting, of this workshop, that will be able to be shared. Unfortunately, last meeting was not, but we're hoping this one will be for those that aren't able to attend during the window in the afternoon. Our onboarding cohort meetings, our second meetings, smaller size meetings, will happen next week as well. I'll be sending out invites for those tomorrow. And this will be a great time for you all to ask questions about all the documents we've shared so far. We've shared a ton of information about the park, about the city and the Conservancy, and about the committee. So this will be an open discussion. We will come with really no agenda or presentation. Just allow you all to have an open forum to ask any questions, voice any concerns, or share any fun ideas or ideas you have about your involvement here. And we're looking forward to those, and some staff will be present from both organizations there. I'm not going to steal the thunder too much from the Plaza and Play kickoff presentation, but there is an open, our first community meeting that they would love, and we would all love if you could attend, on the 7th of October. And then our Plaza and Play focus groups are tentatively scheduled for October 19th and 20th for those who are interested in serving in those. And that'll be a great way to have a more focused interest, focused conversations about particular pieces of this very large and complex project. So that's all the information that I have for the committee. I'm going to pass it off to Grayson Mon on our team. She's a project manager for the Plaza and Play project, and she has some other folks that I believe she's going to introduce. So Grayson, if you're grabbing the screen, or if Hillary's doing so, it is all yours. As always, the chat is here if you have any additional questions on any things we've mentioned, and get out your phones because we're about to do some live polling, I believe.
All right, thanks, Nick. Good evening, everybody. My name's Grayson Mon. It's exciting to see some familiar faces, also some new faces on the community committee. So I'm the project manager for the Plaza and Play project. As soon as I stop talking, Michael Van Valkenburg Associates is going to take it over. I just wanted to introduce a few things. This is a very exciting week to be kicking off the Plaza and Play with our committees. We have been working on getting this project started for, let's say, about 9 months. And here we are. So what is the Plaza and Play project? This is definitely going to be explained further as the presentation from Michael Van Valkenburg Associates, but it is going to be a mix of Plaza and Play. We hope that we'll have a little bit of something for everyone, building from our master plan principles, also connecting, opening up and connecting. So this park project will bring the park up to the edge of Lake Wheeler Road to connect to the existing neighborhoods, to downtown, other areas of the city. And why is this important for us to do now? The last 6 months have shown us why open space is so incredibly important. We had a staff meeting out on site this morning, and we were talking about how we have never seen so many people out at the park. And so really seeing how open space can bring us together and do some really amazing things. I want to say thank you to the Dix Park Conservancy. They are funding the design of this, but the design team was hired through a request for qualifications, or an RFQ, through the city. They're also the Conservancy is also funding the pre-construction services for this, all through a grant. MVVA is a landscape architecture firm out of Brooklyn. They are known for many things, but one of which is being able to create amazing urban parks and incredible, exciting play spaces. So they were hired for their ability to do this for the Plaza and Play. They will be leading us through the design process, which is moving from the conceptual design that is shown in the master plan through an aggressive 22-month schedule to get us through to the end of construction documents that will set us up for going into construction. I mentioned that we did this process and selected them through a request for qualifications, excuse me. And in that advertisement, we said that we were looking for a firm that is well-versed in creating high-quality urban parks. We know that Michael Van Valkenburg can do this. They helped us create the master plan for Dix Park. So we look forward for them to create us this amazing park place. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to MVVA.
Hello, Grayson, thank you so much. And hello, everybody. Welcome to the Plaza Play kickoff meeting. Thank you all for being here today. And I think I can speak for the whole team when I say how truly exciting it is to get to this point. I can't believe it's been 9 months. And how meaningful it is to have this opportunity to meet with all of you now, and also 2 more times over the course of the design process. Special thanks to Nick and Grayson and the rest of the core team for organizing this kickoff with us today. And also a very special thank you to mirror what Grayson said, to the Conservancy for their generosity and success, incredible success in funding the project. So my name is Hillary Archer. I'm the project manager for the Plaza and Play project, prime consultant, Michael Van Valkenburg Associates. You can call us MVVA, it's a little easier. We're the landscape architects for the project, and we have an incredible team of 20 other sub-consultants with a range of expertise who are gonna help us bring this project to its technical and experiential fruition. I also worked under Adrian and Matt, who you'll meet in a moment, their leadership on the Dix Park master plan. So I'm just genuinely happy and honored to be involved in bringing this small piece of Dix Park to life for Raleigh. So I'd now like to invite the rest of our team members to quickly introduce themselves so you can meet them. Matt, do you want to start?
Good leadership there, project manager, telling me to go. Otherwise, I never would have known when. So hi, everyone. It's Matt Urbanski. I have worked with many of you before, and I'm glad to see you again and see new faces. So we look forward to getting into this. I'm a partner at Michael Van Valkenburg Associates. Fletch, how about you next?
Perfect. Hi, everybody. My name is Fletcher Phillips, and I'm also at MVVA. Looking forward to getting to know all of you and working together on this project. Adrienne?
Yeah, happy to go. My name's Adrienne Heflick. I was MVVA's project manager for the master plan. So great to see many familiar faces from the advisory committee. Your advice, your help during the master plan was invaluable. So it's great to see this committee continue on in a new way. And let's see, is Max here? Max from MVVA?
Hi, everyone. I'm Max Durizio. I'm working at MVVA as well. I'm really excited to get to know all of you as we go through the process of designing this park.
We also have our public engagement consultant, 313 Creative from Detroit on, Tom and Missy. Tom, Sherry, do you want to go first?
Hi, everybody. I'm Tom Sherry with 313 Creative, and as Hillary said, we're happy to join the MVVA team with a focus on the public engagement process for Plaza and Play. We've worked with MVVA in the past. We're thrilled to be teamed with them together to help make sure that the project ties into the community as best as it possibly can. Thanks.
Hi, everybody. I'm Missy Ablin with Through and Three Creative. And as Tom said, we'll be working with MVVA and the city to translate a lot of the public feedback back to the design team and the city to make sure that the park is really a place for all and that it really brings to fruition your ideas and ideas of the public at large. So very excited to be here and to see all your faces.
Thank you so much. So today we're going to provide, probably use the whole hour, a special behind the scenes short look at our upcoming public meeting presentation, which incorporates interactive live polls that you'll all be engaging with. And then we will have a group discussion where we hopefully will hear from, if not all, most of you. But to start, we wanted to emphasize, we need to emphasize that today's meeting is important, and this is why. It's, I think, important to note that we understand the community committee exists, especially for Dix Park, as an advisory committee. And it's designed to represent the diversity of the community and also bring a vibrant range of expertise to the project. But it is, or it can be, a powerful source of design stewardship and advocacy, in that you will all and can offer support for the project to the public, to each other, to us and the city, to the leadership committee, and the valuable feedback to us will really propel us moving forward. So this first bullet point here, to share excitement about building the plaza and play, is really, I mean, that's just it. It's a very exciting position for us to be in, for you all to be in, and we look forward to exploring that a little bit more during our roundtable at the end of this. We're going to discuss why the Plaza and Play is a unique project. It's not a typical business as usual type project. Those all have their place, but this one will require a tailored process for design review and construction, but also for how it can be made a special place for truly everyone. And that's a place where we want to hear from you all too. We're going to explain how the design will actually evolve from the planning phase to actual construction to implementation, which, as Grayson said, it's a vigorous schedule, a fast 22 months to 100% construction documents. But the real objective of this kickoff is really to get to know each other and to learn from all of you with your ranges of experiences and expertise. Pretty fascinating. And so with that, I'd like to get started. Throughout the meeting, we'll want to hear from all of you. So please feel free to add comments into the comment box. We'll keep an eye on that. Any questions at any point, please enter that. And then during the discussion later, we'll use the raise hand feature. So, okay, with that, I'm going to hand it over to Missy, and she's going to give us some overview of some of the feedback we've been getting on our public input site.
So with the announcement of public meeting number 1, we also shared a link to a pre-meeting survey on publicinput.com /Plaza Play. And I hope you all have had a chance at this point to take a look at that and to respond to some, if not all, of the survey questions. Right now, I'm going to share a few comments that have been coming in response to the questions. We've been getting a lot of great feedback and have had a lot of traction. Just keep in mind the survey will remain open until the day before the public meeting, so it'll close on October 6th. The first public meeting is on October 7th. So in response to this question number 1, what is your favorite garden or nature area in North Carolina, and why is this place special to you? We've been learning a lot more about what people love about many of the regional gardens in North Carolina, including the Ralston Arboretum, the Yates Mill Pond, and the Umstead State Park. And people are sharing a lot of excitement about finding serenity and awe in natural spaces. So it's great to hear that, and we're gonna keep an eye on this question as the comments come in. We can go to the next one. So in response to this question number 4 in the survey trajectory, is there a garden, gathering space, or play experience missing from the Triangle's parks today that you would like to see added? The strongest response coming in so far is the notion that Raleigh could use some kind of water feature. So being an inland city, we're hearing a lot about different ways that that might be incorporated. And I know MVVA will be planning to tell you more about their thoughts on this throughout the design process. So a few other quotes from folks that are coming in. People are talking about trails that lead to more interesting stopping points and gathering spaces, talking about nothing quite like a nature-inspired play space and tree houses, forts, rope walks, log teeter-totters, etc. So a lot of really great comments there. And then a third question from the survey. As the Dix Park process moves forward, what are you most concerned about and what are you most looking forward to? We've had a lot of people mention access and accessibility as their top concern. People want to make sure that it's a park for everyone, that not only are people welcome, but they have a way to get there and they feel comfortable when they're there. That's a concern both of the designers and the city, we know, so that's a priority in the process that will be addressed. A few things folks are excited about: the idea of play and a new playground, and just in general, the opportunity for new design to have an impact at the park. So we'll keep monitoring these survey comments as they come in, and we'll be analyzing them and sharing them back with the design team to work with as they move the project forward. So thanks to those who have participated so far. So in our public meeting number 1, October 7th, we're going to give you a short preview of that today. It's broken into 3 segments that MVVA will share about the Plaza and Play project. Each segment will be followed by a live poll. And during the public meeting, those segments will also be followed by short Q&A. Tonight, we're going to leave the Q&A until the very end of this segment. So with that, I will kick it back to MVVA to begin the presentation.
Okay, Matt, you want to take it away? Just let me know when you want to advance.
Okay, go ahead. So the first part that we want to talk about is just kind of the relationship to the ambitions of the master plan and how this fits into that. And, you know, it's obvious, but it's nice to say again that with this 300-acre park that we're eventually going to be putting together here, where we want to make something that is going to, you know, inspire generations forever. And this is a quote that was, you know, from the master plan, just kind of setting the expectations as high for this project. Next, please. And we developed 3 principles, and, you know, always principles, if they're really good, they almost seem like they wrote themselves. And I do feel like these sort of wrote themselves after working on the process. First was, you know, some people wonder why it's a park already, isn't it? It's really nice. And it's really true that there are a lot of great things about the site now. Beautiful landscape, beautiful views, beautiful trees. And so building from what is there is a major key element. That's also embodies a sense of sustainability as well, in that you want to, you know, preserve all of the good things and augment them. Next, please. A second principle, because it was a hospital which was basically, you know, limited in its connection to the surrounding area, which kind of got probably even more cut off over time. A big principle of the master plan was to open up the site and connect, and invite and connect both physically and through programs and in other forms of invitation. So, and this is right on our first phase site here. Next, please. And then another key thing to really make a park successful is to not find the perfect thing that you should do there, but actually have a whole a lot of things that you could do there. And then that way you really increase the chances of having something for everyone and bringing people together in new ways that they might not even expect. And so that's the third principle. And it's all comes together in a master plan for the full 300 acres, 300 plus acres. Next, please. And in order to kind of think about that and break it down into understandable pieces, we wound up having 6 kind of major landscape types that we identified in the project. We have the valley, which was focused around a big events area. We have the meadow, which is sort of builds on the big field and expands that into an even bigger field and a bigger flexible space like that. The creek area, which envisions restoring and bringing Rocky Branch into the park as a much more active participant. The grove, which builds on that beautiful picture that I just showed at the beginning there, the beautiful trees, and expanding that grove, that sense of the grove, which is probably the nicest part of the site right now. The ridge, which is focused around some of the original hospital buildings that are up at the top of the site, and probably will work on this from the outside to inside and get to the ridge later in the process. And of course, the state would have to move out first for that. And then finally, the gateway, which is where we are. We are part of the gateway, and the idea of the gateway was this is sort of a gateway to the city and a gateway to the park for many reasons, and we'll try to talk about some of those. Next, please. So the Plaza and Place project area you can see identified here, and then other things that we see as early on projects that will come as funding shows up for it are addressing the landfill, the cemetery, the creek, as we talked about. We had an idea for a land bridge connection over to Pullen Park, the stone cottages, the chapel, and so with those, we're kind of building around some of the existing assets, and the park would feel quite, it would have a really good feel even with just the completion of this first phase. Next, please. So the site here is on Lake Wheeler Road, and the gateway name and the reason why we selected this site comes out of several reasons. One is that this was the area for the recreation. This was the recreation area for the hospital. Another thing is the road comes to grade here, and this is ironically, one of the few spots all around the entire perimeter of the site that is at grade with the surrounding street in a kind of normal relationship with not a highway or other things like that. Next, please. And in the master plan, in this site, because of these various good features that we had, we saw that this could be a great place to incorporate some kind of welcoming landscape at this moment to kind of become the entry point into the park, or one of what we really identified about 12 or 15 entries eventually for the park, but one of the really major ones. And we highlighted through the kind of outreach process, we highlighted a whole panoply of things that could possibly happen here, everything from different kinds of play for different ages, places for people to come together, a good place for a bus drop-off that would deliver people right to the front door of the park, and many other things that people want to get in here. Actually, that's probably going to be one of our biggest challenges, and you as a committee could help us with. So in terms of the team structure, I'd like to point out where the community committee is. It's like right across from the prime design team here. So we have this great connection right across the diagram here. And I'm not kidding. The advisory, you guys are sort of the new incarnation of the advisory committee. Some of you are from that, and we have new people, and you know, just kind of between you and me and the fence post, actually the advisory committee was my favorite part of the last process, because you guys had the kind of more advanced knowledge about subject matter that's really important to kind of planning and making and designing and maintaining a park here. And so like I always enjoyed the committee meetings, and look forward to some more of them with you. The other, that's good. It's good. So you know, basically we have 3 big meetings. October 7th, as it was mentioned, is where we're going to have our first one, and that's where the material presented here will be shown. The next one will be in mid-January, and that's where we'll show our first pass at getting all of the ideas together and into a design that a kind of early version of it for comment, and then we'll take all of that feedback back and come back in April. Still time for comment, but hopefully we've gotten everything incorporated that people want to see, and we'll have a kind of basis for the design development construction document process. The entire process will take about 22 months in order to get to the bidding out of the project. Next, please. Oh, and now Missy is going to have a live poll. I wanted this to have a point at the end, Missy. Did they tell you that?
I didn't hear that, but we can add it.
Live poll.
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
All right, everyone. So if you could go ahead and bring out your phone, you'll be using your cell phone to participate in the live poll. So and keep in mind, these are the same questions we're going to be using with the public audience on October 7th. So this one might be a little funny since we know some of the reasons why you're all here tonight. But the first question asks, what brings you here tonight? So you can respond to this question by texting COMCOM1 to the number 73224. So you can follow that diagram on your screen, and the question will be texted to you, and you can respond to that question. When you respond, please note that the second question will immediately be sent to you. Please just pause for a moment before responding to that. We will review the responses for question number 1, and then we'll share question number 2 with you on the screen.
And Missy, one thing for folks that aren't able to participate now, we mentioned sharing a survey afterwards. Is that still something we can do?
Yes, so after the public meeting, we will plan to keep these questions live on publicinput.com so that anyone who didn't have the chance to participate will be able to participate. If you're having trouble right now and you want to share something in the chat, please feel free to do that. And I'm gonna share some of the responses that are coming in right now. So we want to kick off the project with a bang, bringing art and restored landscapes to Dix Park. Something spectacular for Raleigh. Most fun I've had all week. Well, these are
You
great.
just wait.
That's great.
All right, should we move to question number 2? And keep in mind, these comments are recorded, so we'll have them on record as well. Do you want to share the screen for number 2, Hillary?
If you pause sharing, I can do it. It's not letting me. Thank you.
So the second question asks, what proposed plaza and play elements are you most excited about? And you can text more than one response. Just separate the numbers with a comma, please, and send them in one message.
Missy, as folks are responding, can we share how some of these answers and responses to these questions will be used shaping the first public meeting, but also kind of the design as we keep moving forward?
Sure. So I'm going to let MVVA respond to that second half of the question.
Who's doing the poll?
Oh, well, so maybe I can respond to the first one. If you all have any feedback for these questions, we'd love to hear that, and we can certainly tweak them in advance of the first public meeting. And then more generally, MVVA will be taking these comments into consideration as they are working through the design aspect of the park. So we're seeing a lot of excitement for public art and cultural programs, as well as innovative play for all ages.
I can't see the numbers anymore, so I don't know how to vote.
On your text, your text should say.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Thank you.
We got you covered.
So we've got about 34 responses so far, so we can let a few more folks respond. And I see we have some people online who are out of the country. So lucky them, and thank you for sending your responses over the chat. Okay, thank you. I think we can move forward with the presentation.
Okay.
Okay, so first, so we have a kind of 4 big objectives here. Let's move into it, Hillary. So a gateway is sort of, this project we're seeing is sort of like the front door, if, you know, one of the front doors, but possibly a very important front door for quite a while for the park. And I just thought it was a funny thing to show a bunch of front doors, because people put extra effort into their, even if they have kind of a pretty plain house, they put a little extra effort into their front door to welcome people into the house. I love the heart, for instance, on this one. So, you know, it's always, you know, where a little extra focus goes. And I think that is very, very appropriate to this project. And, you know, you want to be able to invite people coming many different ways. One of the things we learned through the master plan is people will come many different ways. And maybe, you know, you really want to make sure you're kind of providing for everyone, you know, at this moment. Go ahead. One of the great things, like I said, is this site right here has got a fantastic opportunity being at grade with the road. So once we imagine this beautiful improved Lake Wheeler with sidewalks and bike lanes and all of that kind of stuff, kind of being able to move right in here from a bus stop or pull in nearby here in your car, or arrive by bike or arrive by foot is a great possibility, and it kind of draws you right into the site. The entrances, you know, this wants to be a main entrance. I think the plan for the park expands at least 12 or 13 or 15 entrances, something like that over time. But we will, refocusing on and then creating that sense of invitation and opening up the site like the goal of the master plan said will be key. Next, please. And then creating some kind of, you know, this is sort of like the equivalent on the front door of the fancy little molding on top of the door, you know, something that really catch your eye and draw you in and connect between the city and the park. Next, please. And then draw your eye into the site maybe and connect to some of the existing features or even future features that the site will have. It's going to be very interesting to think about how this site will expand from just this initial 12.5 acres to eventually the whole 300, and how it will exist. It needs to function well at both levels or both moments in time. And again, thinking of all the different modes of arrival. And we use this kind of historic fountain image from Central Park because it's so great and it was such a meaningful moment. It doesn't mean that we need to make a faux historic fountain as an iconic element, but if you like that, you could let us know. The idea, though, is creating something here that will be memorable and that people will see, and it will kind of become part of their mental map of the city. It's an important thing. Having all kinds of activity, we have opportunities to possibly incorporate food, places to eat, both bringing your own food, and maybe we could have places to purchase food is a possibility, and other types of activities. Adequate parking, nicely integrated into the landscape, is also important. Okay, and so that's all about that gateway or welcome. Next, we're going to look at connecting it to the site and to its history. We have this wonderful house that we're looking at. We have sort of the best restoration architect in the state, or I think maybe in the region, working with us on this, and very carefully. We have a really significant history here. I wanted to say, don't flip the slide too fast on me, Hillary, here. I just want to say one thing about Dorothea Dix. She was a force. She was a kind of a personality that said there was something that needed to be done about a very important issue, and she got it done in her lifetime and on this site. And I think that's really important and incredible history. And then also what she wanted to do with the people that needed help at the hospital was incorporated. Part of the program incorporated the landscape into that whole treatment. And I love this picture of this Easter egg hunt. Almost makes me cry. It's so beautiful on the right there. And then, you know, the recreation fields that we're going to be working on. So the force, it just gives you inspiration, I think, as much as anything else. Next, please. In the master plan, we dug into and will continue to dig into further the local and regional natural and horticultural landscapes that you have, going out to visit them and collecting plants and plant lists and talking to experts and expanding and finding ways to incorporate all of that complexity into the site. Next, please. We want to make sure we deliver something that's appropriate to the climate. You know, you have actually sometimes beautifully mild periods in the winter, and then you also have some roasting hot days in the summer. So really coming up with a design that addresses all of those opportunities. Next, please. The region is connected to kind of the use of wood, and there's also other beautiful native materials, but there's a whole tradition of woodworking and furniture making and craftsmanship that comes out of the area. And is there ways that we could incorporate that into the design, and as well as other local materials? Next, please. So with that, Missy's coming back with another live poll.
Exclamation point.
Yeah, yes.
All right, so you can bring out your phone again, and to participate in the live poll 2, you'll text COM2 to the same number that you've been corresponding with for the previous questions. So this question asks, which play example most closely resembles what you want to see at Plaza and Play? And you can select anything here that you see that's important to you. So you can input the numbers separated by a comma into one text message.
I was wondering while we're doing the poll if I should hum the Jeopardy theme song or something like that.
If you're so moved.
Dum 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 dum. Okay, that's all I'll do of it. Don't worry. I only know that because my college roommate was obsessed with it and watched it every day, and I had to listen to it in the background all the time.
There are worse things. How are we doing, Missy?
So we are seeing a lot of interest in imaginative play, nature play, and water play, and not a whole lot less, but a little bit less in playful objects, but we're getting interest in all 4 categories. All right, let's go on to question number 4. So that should have come via text, and Hillary will pull up the screen. Which civic plaza example most closely resembles what you want to see at Plaza and Play? And again, you might select more than one, and please send those in one text message separated by commas.
I'd love to know how many people have done this kind of thing on a Zoom or on a committee already. To me, this is a totally novel experience. I find it to be really fun.
21 so far for iconic elements, and 21 for deep sightlines, 20 for civic fountain, and 15 so far for grand entry. All right. Thank you to all. We're capturing this info and we'll carry on with the presentation.
All right, take it away, Matt.
Okay, regional draw. You know, one of the things that is always great about a kind of a big important park is it actually works really well on the neighborhood scale too. So that's always important, and it works for the people that live across the street. But what we have as an opportunity here is to build on that neighborhood park success and make something that's appropriate or kind of leverages it at the fact that it's in the state capital. So we have these other great statewide attractions, this beautiful Capitol building. We have these great festivals on Fayetteville Street. We have, you know, the art museum, really, really very regional class, national class elements, and bringing Dorothea Dix Park to function at that level as well, be part of that ensemble of things, places that people will come and visit when they come to the state capitol and say go to the Natural History Museum or something like that. That's going to help, I think, personally, with maybe financial support for the park over time too, if it actually seems like it's something that everyone in the state wants. So that's also something to think about. So spaces that really kind of bring people together in ways that are fun, but maybe unexpected. This is our Brooklyn Bridge Park as an example. But also really, there she is. Okay, thank you. But also nice calm places and places to be contemplative or be even by yourself. Next, please. The ability to have great programming, spaces that can accommodate that, things that people come and maybe do every week here, for instance. Or, you know, just something that you do with your family, go for a picnic, and it's very intimate and quiet, and just a small group. Kind of fun, unexpected ways, elements for kids to engage with, and I don't know, disobey their parents a little bit, maybe slightly here. I'm not sure exactly. That could be fun. Next, please.
Girls in dresses can climb.
Well, yeah, sure. And then, or the very same thing could be just a beautiful element that, this is our Teardrop Park, where actually a fountain turns to ice in the winter. Next, please. And, you know, spaces that can become the setting for a programmed event or a series of events or programs that might happen, everything from storybook reading to something fun like whatever the heck they're doing here.
Parachuting.
And then, you know, an opportunity here, this is something that would be interesting to engage the committee in. The art collaboration is something that there's different ways of thinking about this. We could probably do them all, but we've worked with artists to build spaces and make elements for spaces going back for 30 years, for instance, Martin Puryear and Judy McKee and Ann Hamilton. And that's sort of developing spaces or elements for a landscape that are permanent. That's one way of thinking about it. Another way of thinking about it is that we create fantastic settings and work with the curators that you have here in the city and the other people that can help us to kind of develop a program of art that changes. And the Yippee Hine and Nish Kapoor and the Martin Credo were installations in all the Brooklyn Bridge Park. And they are really top quality and just create another level of interest and changingness to the site. So you come back and find a new thing every year or every season or whatever it would be. So those are both ways of thinking about art and its involvement. Both of them could probably be incorporated into the program. But if people have comment or about that with a experience or comments, things that they want to talk about or add into the chat or further communicate with the team on, that would be a great thing to get feedback on. And then a gathering place offering something for everyone. Next, please. One of the challenges that the committee will have to help us with in terms of communication challenges is the fact that our 12.5 acre site is not 300 acres. And we do want to have something for everyone in the 300 acres. And in a way, the site could be thought of as a bit of a microcosm of the whole. Like we could possibly allude to at least a lot of the things that will be on the rest of the site, but we can't fit everything in the site. And that will just be true. That's just a fact. So we'll have to figure out what the perfect things are for this gateway program, and then help get people to understand what they might have to wait a little bit longer for. One of the things about this site is it will help us connect to other parts of the site that are already viable park-like aspects. But you could kind of see this site in comparison to Nash and Moore Square, just to give you a scale comparison, or to Rose Garden or Pullen Park. And that's both parts of Pullen Park that span the railroad tracks there. Next, please. So one of the ideas that we have about how to get more into less space, because it's sort of a challenge. It's not a unique challenge, honestly. It happens all the time. If people are going to spend money on a nice public landscape, they want to get a lot out of it. Is to combine the two. Get the kind of the plaza, which is sort of our metaphorical park, and our play together in a way that is combined. So we want to think about that. Go ahead. And just a few examples that are relevant in different ways to what we're talking about, but also just very elegant in their solution. This is Washington Square Park, a very famous park in New York City that was renovated. They chose to renovate it in a way that they made it look all historical. That was the park. They wanted to do it that way because it was a historic park already. It has this beautiful arch that does act as a fantastic gateway and this fantastic plaza, and it always had a historic fountain in it. What is neat is the way the landscape architects working for the Parks Department cleverly took the idea of the plaza and the play that was going to inevitably happen in the fountain and brought the two together. So go ahead. So the plaza and the play are literally the same place. And the fountain can be used as a play element, as well as a beautiful civic element. Go ahead. In our Teardrop Park, this is a small park that also had to have quite a bit in it in a small acreage. This was only 2 acres in New York City. And kind of within a naturalistic setting that kind of had many tropes of a New York City park, trying to signal and it had something to do with the challenges of the site and its containment by buildings, but signaling to New Yorkers that this was a park and using a lot of natural-esque elements to signal that. Next, please. What we did was we thought about this kind of wonderful embracing park, Plaza Park kind of idea there, but then embedded play elements into the landscape in playful ways. And so there's a water play area where water just, and we worked with Robin Moore and Nilda Costco, your local experts, way back 20 years ago on this. And actually they developed, for instance, this water play area where water just kind of randomly squirts out of stones. And when kids push on buttons, it's really a lot of fun. Next, please. This is before, I think a few days before it opened for our part of our park that we've just completed in Tulsa, Oklahoma. This is sort of the grander play area that's part of that. But the integration of greenery and play together, so you don't kind of have this kind of just an area with just play equipment in it, is sort of one of our important hallmarks of what we can pull off in some of these spaces. So even within that play area, we have places that are much more integrated with the existing vegetation and not frenetic and play oriented in such an explicit way. And then other places that are really fun and iconic and eye-catching and custom made, like these wonderful towers that we have there as well. Next, please. And then a project that I just endlessly admire in terms of its ability to do this hybridizing or combination scape. And this is right on Michigan Avenue in Chicago. This is part of Millennium Park. It's one of the gardens in Millennium Park, but it's called the Crown Fountain, and it's a wonderful landscape that basically is a civic landscape and a kind of playful landscape at the same time, incorporating built-in art, of course, too, as well. And I don't actually know for sure whether the idea that people would actually play in this as much as they do was assumed to be the case, or if it just happened. But it is a wonderful, instance of something beautiful and civic landscape, inventive, surprising, unexpected. And in this case, I love the way these kind of towery things they made echo the Chicago skyscrapers that are right behind it. They're sort of like miniature foreground elements. So very appropriate to the place and bringing both things together. Next, please. Okay. This is our Brooklyn Bridge Park, and part of a kind of a welcoming playground that is right at one of the main entrances to the park. Next, please. But again, what we're able to do within that space is really incorporate very fun, really exciting. Some people really want excitement. Some people really want, to go and hang and look at butterflies. And we have to make both groups happy. Maybe not both perfectly happy, but I aim to make both perfectly happy. Kind of get both together. And one of the great things about landscape as a medium is we're able through careful design and planning to get almost paradoxically different things very near each other, and in close proximity. And these elements are very close to each other near the entrance to Pier 6, for instance. Next.
All right, Matt, thank you so much. And
Yep.
That concludes our presentation bit. This is our final live poll, and I'll let Missy take that over.
All right, so to participate in the third round of poll, please text COMCOM3 to the same number that you've been texting. And the first question asks, how would you balance the area of plaza relative to the area of play in this project? So please choose one number on the sliding scale as you see it up on the screen. So we have a little lean towards more plaza and a balance, and then a slight lean, just following that is a slight lean towards more play. But the balance is leading out. So the second question, how do you plan to arrive at the Plaza Play project once it arrives? And you may select more than one option separated by commas. So we have a lot of bikers, walkers, some people driving. More people driving. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Significant bus number, though, actually.
Yeah, and a handful of people arriving by bus as well. So this is all very helpful input, and we're going to combine these results with the results that come in as well from the public meeting to help inform the process as it moves forward. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you, everyone. So we now want to turn the tables and hear from some of you and what time is left. As you heard from all of us, we have really big ambitions for the park, and we want to design a place that's unlike anywhere else and bring bold visions to life here. And as I said earlier, to do that, we also need the community committee to be stewards of high quality design excellence and support a system of unique solutions and problem solving and doing things differently than business as usual. So we want to hear from you, and based on your experience and expertise, how can you personally or the community committee as a body support bold and inventive outcomes for this project? If you want to raise your hand, I can call on folks.
Sorry, I just wanted to ask really quick, how do we raise our hands?
Oh, sure. If you go to the participant panel, either at the top or bottom of your screen, there's a raise hand function. There we go. Carol Rogers. Thank you.
I'm interested in, since you've chosen the Lake Wheeler Road area as the primary entrance, how you plan to address the neighborhood that is across the street now, and what might be envisioned for that neighborhood in the future, and how you tie all of that into what would be a major traffic area.
That's a great question. Does anybody want to jump into that from my team?
This is Myrick Howard, and I do wonder if the neighborhood across the street will 25 years from now be here at all. I think there's going to be such pressure on it that it'll be developed, and it was a historic mill village, and I'm afraid it's going to face being lost. I think the economic pressures are going to be such, and it would be nice to give that some thought now.
Yeah, I'm happy to jump in here. So
I guess that's part of my question. So what Myrick said the pressure on the community is by being adjacent to the park, and particularly adjacent to what is considered the main entrance, will put even more pressure on what is a charming neighborhood now. And you know, how do you integrate that and the changes that it will face into the park entrance itself?
It's something we'll definitely be considering. There's a few other people who've raised hands, and we definitely want to hear ideas for how to support bold and inventive outcomes for the project. So let's go to
Hillary,
Sonia.
I'm sorry. I feel like, Hillary, I need to jump
Yeah.
in for just a second. So I just, we will have some follow-up items for you all, but one of the things that I think would be great for everyone on the committee to know about is the EDGE study that is happening with the planning department. So they are looking at the neighborhoods that are across from Lake Wheeler Road, and there's a study area associated with that. And they're kicking off their project next month with some listening sessions where they're going to be hearing from residents and business owners in this study area to hear what they feel is important about the neighborhood or the area and what makes the area. They will be making some recommendations and basically I should have said basically, but a land use plan will be associated with that. Affordable housing tools will also be part of that. So we will definitely follow up with some information on what that study is doing. Okay, back over to you, Hillary.
Raven. Yeah. Sonia Barnes had her hand raised.
I just wanted to make a comment. I was looking at the water park, and I was just wanting to suggest at some point you have something that might be friendly towards senior citizens or grandparents that would take their kids to the park, where they could be in sort of a shaded area but could still watch the kids at the same time. And also for folks that's medically fragile that would like to enjoy the water park.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great idea, Sonia.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
mean, one of the things that we've learned about in terms of designing places for kids is it's at least half as important to think about the adults that are with them and that they're comfortable. Otherwise, they don't get to stay, you know, because the adults want to leave, you know, and it's not comfortable. And so I think that's very astute of you to say. And I think, you know, it also then makes sure that we're making something great for them as well. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We have Larry.
Yeah, I wanted to get back to the main entrance and the traffic, but really on the inside of the park. You know, that it's, when you showed the map, you know, it's got a 1/4 mile along Lake Wheeler, and there's going to be a main entrance of a lot of cars coming in, and you saw I suspect Raleigh, at least for the near future, is going to be auto-oriented. And just how, really not looking for an answer, but just an observation, just how compatible that type of activity, roadway and internal access of cars coming back and forth and buses, is to playgrounds. And maybe, and I personally voted more towards 4 or 5 on the plaza-oriented program versus with playground integrated into it. But mainly for that reason, I just see that it's not a deep site, and it may be difficult to get the kind of playground images that you show in programs that are very intensely playground oriented.
Those are all good, really good points, Larry. I also think you're telling us in a way that we have to think about the different modes and where they are interfacing with different modes of travel and where they're interfacing with people and the site itself. Yeah. So that's a great thing to think about. And I think your sentiment about the playground and what's compatible with the street and all of that is also something we'll take to heart.
I'm going to step in real quick. We are at our official time, so if folks have things to do this evening, I know we got work tomorrow. I just wanted to mention that. I think it's an important enough discussion to continue for folks that are able to stay around. We haven't been able to have this back and forth yet in our committee meeting. So if you're able to stay, we'd love to have you. But we are at time for those that need to come. We are recording this meeting and we'll also have meeting notes. So folks won't be missing out.
Hillary, maybe we can jump to the next question.
Sure. For those who want to stick around, it's a little bit of a similar takeoff from the first question, but we'd love to hear more of your ideas for ways to make this unique and successful. And hearing some of the challenges is a very helpful way to address this as well. So, Mike Ripley.
Hey guys, I got like 2 questions and then I'll address this. So my first question is really, so I noticed on the question, I think it was question 2 when you were talking about the proposed elements of the plaza and play, and it looks like you broke out in, there's I think it was option 2 was the multimodal pass, parking and access, and then there was a specific option for bus drop off. I was just curious why, I guess why bus drop off was like pulled out from the access option rather than just being like looped into that. So that was my first question. And then as far as the feedback, I think to make this like successful and unique, I think it's really important just to kind of bounce off what everybody else has been saying, just that like we should be engaging the community because this is going to obviously impact them as a part of that. But also, I don't know if there's like the citizen advisory councils that we can reach out to have virtual meetings with them, right? Because I know those have been in a weird place since they got dissolved, but I know some of them are still around, so I think that'd be like one way, and just getting more, I guess, involvement in those communities to engage them, because I think a lot of people end up, you know, if you don't engage them early and often, they're going to be like, hey, like, you know, kind of the same trappings that probably been happening for the longest time. So that's my only feedback, but thanks.
Thank you. Are there any other general questions or lingering comments? We've been getting a lot of good comments in the comment box, and we'll definitely make a point to respond and issue notes as a follow-up to those.
I had one question, if I could.
Please.
Yeah. So good day from Australia. It's going to be hard to make it to the workshop, but are there any like master plan maps or anything like that that would be available for people to sketch on and submit ideas?
Oh, that's great. We currently have a children's activity to sketch some ideas, but I love the idea of making that accessible to all, and something that we can develop. And there's also really great, dixpark.org has a great resource of the master plan document itself as a place to start.
Cool. And then if any ideas about how we would submit those or share those or anything like that would be great.
Absolutely.
So I want to jump in. We are going.
Oh, you're on mute.
You're on mute. Grayson, you're on mute. No, you're not.
Okay, good. It told me if I pressed my space bar, I was on mute, but I guess that was just a trick. Hillary, maybe it would be good to jump to our last slides about the upcoming meeting and how they can share things on public input. And then if there are people that want to chat further, I think we can go back to that, but maybe we can go ahead and jump to the last slide so we capture all that information while we have most of the audience here.
Go for it.
All right. So we have our first public meeting coming up for the Plaza and Play project. It is October 7th. It will be from 6:30 to 8 p.m. You can sign up for that by going to the Dix Park You go to that by going to publicinput.com /Plaza Play. So all this will be linked to you in follow-up materials, and it's that last website that you see listed here. So we have our project landing page, which is on dixpark.org, and then we have online interactive engagement site of publicinput.com, and there is a landing page there. So Hillary, so you can sign up there for the public meeting, and then Hillary, if you'll go to the next slide. So on this, we have a prompt asking kids, how do you like to play outside? So we want kids to start thinking about outside play. Ollie, I think here you could you can just make a sketch of anything that you'd like, and you can see on the bottom in the blue square where it has that information on how you could submit that. So you can do it on social media via #PlazaPlay. You can also email it in to the plazaplay@publicinput.com address. And so I don't think that you have to necessarily print out this rectangle to draw on if you want to. We certainly welcome that. And I think also I want to add to not just think about what we traditionally think of as kids. I think everybody has a little kid inside of them in some way. And so also please share with us how you like what you think of as play and how you want to see play incorporated in this.
That.
So with that, I have, Hillary, do you have any more closing comments?
No, just a huge thank you to everyone, and we
Yeah.
look forward to working with all of you as we get going on this process.
Me
Thank
too.
you for your feedback.
Yes, very, very much a thank you. So I have several things that, just a few more things to follow up in. Nick sent out a survey for focus groups, so we'll be looking at those few topic areas coming up later in October. I want to say thank you for participating with us. Online engagement is a new world for us, and so we are doing our best to navigate that gracefully, but please be patient with us. Sometimes there are a few things to figure out. And I've seen in some of the comments we're talking about the importance of engaging with other communities, and we definitely agree with you. I'm going to call some action back to the community committee to please share this information on our upcoming engagement, our public meeting, and as well as the online engagement with your contacts to help us broaden that reach. And thank you in advance for making this a very successful Plaza Play project. If anybody would like to go back to the comments, I think we can certainly do that for a few more minutes. Hillary, is there a good way to, or Nick, to gauge if people want to continue the conversation?
Nick?
I think we can hang on. There were some additional questions I think would be important to hit if we can. So maybe until 7:45, another 7 or so minutes. Noting that we're not going to answer every single question here today, and there will be follow-ups. There's a couple. I'm going to try to scroll up and pull out a couple of these. We had additional conversation about the EDGE study area in the neighborhoods of Fuller Heights and Cary Lee and the impacts there. Oh, the chat moved. We had a request for a presentation about the water, the plan for stormwater and water treatment with a large water element. I think that answer will probably come a little further down in design, but we'll note that as something that folks are concerned about and would like some additional details when we have those to share. I think a good question to answer now was the communication with the Fuller Heights and Cary Lee neighborhood. Grayson, one of the comments that Leonie made was there may be a lack of information in this community, this neighbor community, about what's happening at the park and specifically what's happening with this project. Can you kind of speak towards the strategy for engaging with these folks? I know there was a postcard. I know we're leaning on the EDGE study, and they're doing a lot of kind of door-to-door work as well. Can you kind of just speak on how those efforts are coordinated?
Yeah, so a lot of this is doing some cross-promotion with the EDGE study. So they have, Nick mentioned postcards. They sent out postcards earlier this summer, and announcing the project. We have heard some confusion on the two projects, and so they have some upcoming listening sessions, as I mentioned, in October. So we're going to continue to work with them closely on how we use their project to notify the existing neighbors of this project. We also welcome if you can help us with reaching out to those communities, if you have contacts within those communities. I would love to follow up with you afterwards on helping to reach them.
Yeah, and the most recent question was in terms of sharing details about the project and about our community meeting. Is there materials that we're able to share with our ComCom members that would make for a good social post, or a good way to leave flyers in their neighborhood grocery store or community center or a religious establishment?
Yes, so if you would like printed materials, I'm happy to work on providing those. We spent quite some time talking about printed materials since we are in quarantine and the best way to go about that. We have been leaning on sharing things virtually, but realize that there are limitations there. But if you would like, we certainly can help you in the follow-up information on the best way to share these things via email, social media. Yeah, I think that covers the online thing. If I'm missing anything, please chime in.
Grayson, just one thing to note, we are looking at sharing information through utility mailers, so like the water bill. So in the October water bill to all Raleigh residents, there will be a flyer about this project, which will be really great. So it's reaching a broader audience than just the neighbors. And then really that coordination with the EDGE study, they've done a lot of work in the Fuller Heights Carolee neighborhood, and we'll just be starting their engagement when our project's kicking off. And so we will be partnering with the planning department so that we're engaging that neighborhood as best we can during COVID.
But the first thing we'll do is have our postcard, a digital postcard that we'll share out in my follow-up email, and that'll be a great place to start. Another important note was the public input site that we're using as our engagement platform has a translation feature. There was a comment about individuals, especially in this neighborhood, that speak other languages or Spanish. So we just want to note that as a general FYI. That's where we'll be hosting most of our online engagement, and that's kind of one of the built-in features for that platform. Okay, I think that's probably enough for our kickoff meeting. We're gonna have plenty of other opportunities to engage here. The next one's coming in our onboarding cohort meetings, and then in the next community meeting and focus group. One note that I wanna add that I didn't mention earlier is we're providing a ton of opportunities for engagement here, and there is no expectation that you'll be involved in every single one. What we're doing is providing a menu of opportunities that will hopefully provide something that's of interest to you and of value to you, and we hope that you can engage where it makes sense for you and where you're able and where you would like to contribute. So with that, I want to thank everyone that was able to join with us tonight and folks that shared. It's great to see everybody. You'll get a follow-up email from me here in the next couple of days, but until then, I hope everyone has a great rest of their week, and we will talk to you soon.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Okay, so there's something I have to do about saving the chat, I think, Lauren.
Ooh.
Yeah, I know.
Let me do it.
Hold on. Chat. Okay, I'm gonna stop the recording.
Okay.
Talk to you tomorrow.
All right. Good meeting. Good job.
Yep, thanks.